Welcome to the week 2 of the Mastermind, Unlock the Secrets of Anti-Aging. This one, I recommend that you really sit down and you are prepared for lots and lots of information. Because if you want to truly understand how your body works and how you can get the key to longevity, you need to understand the basic biochemistry. And if I was to just talk about telomeres, you wouldn't know what I mean. So we will go deeper into the genetics and the terminology. Here we come. So in the first video, we are going to look at the biochemistry, terminology of genetics, so that you understand what causes cancer, what are the mutations. And in the second video, we are going to look into the practical part. So let's start. First, I want to entertain you. When people say, but I have a fat gene, I have always been fat. All my family is fat, and therefore it's not possible to lose weight. So this is a picture when I was in Rome as an au pair preparing for the studies of the Italian language and literature. And I had an Italian boyfriend and he loved eating, and he was showing me his love by eating. So we were competing who can eat more of the pizza tagliata, is the cut pizza, who can eat more ice cream. And within 1 year of this magical love, I put on 12 kilos. When my mom came to see me, she was nearly crying, and she put me on a diet of steamed zucchini so that I get back to where I am supposed to be. And I love eating, and I'm controlling this fat gene all my life. But what helps me to keep, let's say, a stable weight is the gastrointestinal health, because everything starts in the gut. And that's what we will be covering during the 3 months together. The second thing is to get the hormones under control so that you are not having the spike of hunger or appetite to go and have something sweet. And the third one is the mental and emotional well-being. Because if you truly know what you want and why you want it, if you can get your emotions under control, you have power over your body and even the hormones. So nutritional part is a key. And then also spiritual, just knowing even why you want it, why you are here, what you want to achieve. But today, we are going to dive into that biochemistry. So we start very slowly. We have 37 trillion cells in the human body. So on this picture, the blue ball is a cell. And you remember maybe already that every cell has the receptors, because the cell on its own doesn't know what to do. It needs instructions either from the hormones or enzymes or neurotransmitters. And these instructions are passed based on how we feel. So if we are emotionally and mentally free, the cell is also very free and happy. If we are stressed, the cell gets stressed, and the chances are it makes mistakes. So as we age, the cells naturally are getting damaged, and they are supposed to either die or they become inactive. We don't really want them to become senescent cells, because these cells, it's like a rotten apple. They turned bad inside, and as they are in a basket or surrounded by other healthy cells, they are spreading that negative message to the surrounding tissue. And then even this tissue, like with cancer, it gets impacted. So what we want is to get our cells to die. And this is called programmed cell death, apoptosis. The cell, when there is a mistake in the replication, which would cause potential danger or any disease, our body says, okay, let's kill this cell and let's start again. Because you know, every cell in the body is dividing all the time. Some skins are reprogrammed to divide and die more often, like the skin cells. So when you are doing the peeling, you are constantly removing the dead cells. Or the cells, for example, in our intestine that renew every 3 to 5 days. So that's very quickly. So depending which part of the body, there is a different rate. And we can, of course, influence it by not being stressed, by eating the healthy food, by exercising. So now you know that it is normal to have the wear and tear. What's not normal is the inflammation. And we don't want to have the chronic constant inflammation in our body, because that is a culprit of aging and every single disease. So the second picture that I want you to look at, and actually even the first one, is mitochondria. And you have heard me saying before that mitochondria is the energy powerhouse that basically takes that raw material, glucose, the sugar, and turns it into energy. Money, the dollars, ATP, adenosine triphosphate, because cells in the body, they don't work for free. They say, okay, if you want me to do something, pay for it. So when the muscle needs to contract, it's 3 ATP. So we need healthy mitochondria so that they actually create the energy so that we can pay and do whatever we want to do. And normally, organs in the body that are working the hardest have the biggest amount of mitochondria. So, for example, liver. You know that the liver is here on the right side. When we eat some food, liver produces enzymes that break down the food and turn it into energy. So liver is a very important organ. However, you can look at the picture here. So everything that is red, it has lots and lots of mitochondria, it's active. And everything that is white is the fat. It's the fat, lipid, droplets, molecules. Why are they in the liver? What is causing the fatty liver? So it's alcohol, the sugar. And now if you say, I don't drink any alcohol, it's even fructose. The research many times showed that non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is caused by fructose, the fruit sugar. Eating way too much fruit can cause fatty liver. And fat cells have no mitochondria. They cannot make any energy. So if you carry way too much fat on your body, you might not have enough energy to do everything that you want to do. So our aim in these 3 months is to turn the fat cells into muscle cells, long, lean muscles that also have lots of mitochondria. And what you need to know about mitochondria, that if you are actually in a relaxed state, mitochondria is using fat, so the ketones, as a source of energy, not glucose. And therefore you turn into this hybrid car. And even if you don't eat for 20 hours, you will still have abundance of energy. So it's the liver, it's the heart muscle, the myocardium that is squeezing and pumping the blood and the oxygen everywhere into the body. These need to have mitochondria. So we have up to 2,000 mitochondria in the brain for the focus and energy, in muscles, heart, and liver. Yeah. So mitochondrial DNA is very important for us, because if mitochondria, if the structure of the mitochondria and the DNA, the genetic material inside, gets damaged, oxidized, which means that the free radicals came and they have stolen some parts of it and they damaged the DNA, and now the mitochondria doesn't know how to create energy and how to function, we are in a big trouble. And actually mitochondrial health, as you are going to learn throughout the weeks, is involved in every degenerative disease. So that was mitochondria, and it's completely different DNA structure. And then in every cell, we have nucleus. So it's like the brain of the cell. And in the nucleus, These dark spots are actually DNA. And I know you want to know all about it. And so I'm going to expand more on that terminology. But before we dive into it, I want you to remember what are enzymes, because I'm saying enzymes all the time. And some people say, are enzymes the same as hormones? So it's not. We know that hormones are the chemical messengers carrying the message from A to B. So from the gland or from the brain, it carries it to the cell, and the cells have the receptors. So the receptor is like a lock. So hormone is the key. Hormone comes and opens the door, but not every lock and every key pass together. And that's correct, because we don't want every hormone to act on every cell in our body. So what is enzyme then? So enzyme just speeds up the chemical reactions. And maybe you have heard me talking about digestive enzymes. So sometimes when people are bloated and they are farting and having diarrhea and constipation, or they have heartburn, they don't have enough digestive enzymes. So it's like the scissors. When you eat the food, it's in a massive chunk, and this chunk needs to be turned into porridge. So it's like a smoothie maker. The stomach needs to break it down into simple molecules. So even in the stomach, we have the enzymes, and then in the liver delivers the enzymes that actually break it down and make it like into a porridge, so that you can absorb all these nutrients into the body. If you don't have the enzymes, you are not going to utilize the food. The food goes to your gut bacteria. They will eat it, they will produce gas, and you might feel bloated and have no energy. So digestive enzymes, for example, lipase. So lipid, fat. Lipase is breaking down fat so that you can absorb it. If you don't have lipase, chances are that after eating way too many nuts or really heavy fatty meal, you have pain in your liver, actually the gallbladder, because it's not squeezing enough of the bile to break it down and have this enzyme lipase. And then you might have actually even fatty diarrhea. So you would buy in a pharmacy enzyme lipase, eat it with the meal, and this enzyme will help you to break it down. For example, enzyme is also something that starts the reaction, right? So you can have the food, you have this raw material. It's like when you want to bake the cake, but without the baking powder and the heat, it's not going to expand, right? So the bomb explodes or something happens only when you have the matches, the enzyme, the scissor to start it. So this is enzyme. For example, with coffee, sometimes people ask me, is coffee good or bad? And I say, it depends if you have the enzymes that break it down. So what enzyme is actually responsible for this? So you know that some people can have coffee, for example, at 8 o'clock in the evening, and they fall asleep easily. It's because they have an enzyme that quickly breaks down the molecules of the caffeine and eliminates it from the liver and from the kidneys. So that coffee has actually no impact on them. And then me, the person that doesn't have this enzyme, when I drink the coffee at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the receptors on my cells are going to act like it's adrenaline, because it actually speeds up the adrenaline. So my heart will be pumping. I'm going to get nervous, and I'm definitely not going to fall asleep in the night, because each of us have tolerance. So maybe I will be able to tolerate half of the cup of the coffee and then maybe fall asleep, because maybe I have some enzymes, but not enough. But I cannot tolerate 2 or 3 coffees. That's just going to kill me. And it's like with people, you know, Some people don't treat you well. And when it happens time to time, you have your boundaries, but you don't show them the boundaries. You kind of like ignore it and you go on. But if somebody is constantly putting you down, then you show them the boundaries and you maybe even like panic or explode. Yeah. So it's like the enzyme. And maybe you have heard about like other enzymes, for example, for cancer. So if the cancer is running in your family, the chances are that you have some enzymes that either switch on or switch off the genes. And this is called genetic polymorphism, SNP. So these tests are basically showing you whether you have or don't have the enzymes that are either promoting cancer or helping you to control your cells from the danger of mutations, any mutations. So enzyme, now you remember it. Coffee, now you know whether you can drink it or not, because it's very individual. Now you know what is hormone, the chemical messenger that carries the message, and it's like a lock and the key. And you know that every cell has receptors, and some cells have more, some cells less. Some receptors are made for the enzymes and for the hormones, and some are not. Get ready for the last slide of the terminology. And this is my favorite. And I think it's important to know what it actually means. So remember, you are unique and you have your genetic book of life. This book has chapters, like every book. And the chapters were given to you by your parents. Half of it, 23 chapters, by your father, and half of it, 23 chapters, by your mom. They loved each other, they crossed, and these chapters are called chromosomes. So you have in total 46 chromosomes. Every cell in your body is the same, with the same amount of chromosomes and with the same sentences in these chapters. So the sentences are very long and they are called DNA strands. So the DNA strands, it's 2 strands, it's a double helix. Yeah. So it's a very long chain of sentences in every chapter. And somebody needs to read it. But to read the sentence, you need to read the words. You need to read the words and they need to be written in a correct order. So this is called codon. So when the enzyme telomerase and the polymerase reads it, they read I am Blanca. If the letters are all mixed together, it's the message is not the same. It's like with every word. If I say not, N-O-T, 3 letters, the codon is 3 letters. It means something else than if I say ton in French. It means yours. So the same letters, but in a different order, make a completely different information for a completely different person because it's a different language. So the enzyme telomerase and the enzyme DNA polymerase, they read the sentences, and when they replicate the cell 50 to 70 times per lifetime, every cell, yeah, they replicate it in the correct order. The problem is if the cell gets damaged, if the cell gets oxidized because the free radicals have stolen some letters and some parts of it, it's not anymore the same cell. And this cell needs to die. If this cell doesn't die with the programmed cell death, if our body, the police of the body, the white blood cells, don't spot the mistake, we are in a danger. We can create a disease, cancer, that replicates, mutates, and mutates. So that's why I want you to understand the DNA. And I want you to know what is the key to longevity. So the key to longevity, let me reach for something now, is to understand the structure of the shoelace. So every shoelace, imagine that this is the DNA structure. It's nicely packed. It's actually protected by histones like proteins. So it cannot get damaged, because if this falls apart, we are not able to put it together. And at the end of every shoelace and of every chromosome or every structure, there is telomere. So the cap on the top, the cap is here as well. So every time when the DNA needs to unfold to get replicated, this opens as well. When we get old, these telomeres get shorter and shorter and shorter. And once they disappear, the DNA is open to oxidation, open to free radicals, and open to genetic mutations. And that's why the key to longevity is to keep the length of the telomeres correct. And I have a good news that actually the research showed with the correct nutrition, you can elongate the telomeres and you can reverse aging. Yeah. So I just want to say that, for example, white blood cells, when you are young, you have 8,000 base pairs. So this is called base pair because it's in pairs. So you have 8,000 of them. By the age that you are adult, you have only 3,000. And when you are older, you have 1,500. And then as older and stressed you get, you are losing these telomeres and therefore causing the disease and then the death. So now, when you understand all this terminology, you want to know, how can I protect the caps at the end of the chromosomes, the chapters? What food do I need to eat? And that's what I'm going to tell you in the next video.